On June 4, 2010, a 7-year-old boy named Kyron Horman vanished from his elementary school in Portland, Oregon, just after proudly showcasing his science project at the school's science fair. The last known image of Kyron, smiling in front of his project, became a haunting symbol of a case that would baffle investigators and the public for years to come. How does a child disappear from his school without a trace? Who's to blame for this? Where is Kyron Horman? Welcome to Bad Things. Join us as we'll explore the timeline and the theories and discuss what most likely happened. Family dynamic before the incident. Kyron Horman was born on September 9, 2002 to his biological parents, Kyron Horman and Desiree Young. They got married in the year 2000. Kane worked as a software engineer, providing a stable income for his son. Desiree was dedicated to raising Kyron and ensuring he had a nurturing environment. However, their marriage proved to be a bit rocky, as Kane cheated on Desiree while she was 8 months pregnant with Kyron. According to Kane, their relationship had already ended by that point, while Desiree believed they were still together. Regardless, they divorced in 2003 when Kyron was just 1 year old. While Kyron was growing up, his mom Desiree got really sick. She suffered from severe kidney problems that would send her to the hospital 3 to 4 times a year. The doctors tried everything to keep her kidneys from failing, but her condition made her pass out at times, meaning that she was unable to take care of an attention-demanding toddler. So Desiree went to Canada to seek medical treatment and left Kyron in the care of his dad. But even after she came back to America, the co-parents decided that it'd be best for Kyron to stay with his father. Both Desiree and Kane later remarried. Kane got married to Terry Moulton, the woman he was previously involved with. They married in an intimate ceremony in 2007 while visiting Hawaii. Terry also had a son from a previous relationship, making Kyron part of a blended family when he was with his father. Desiree also eventually married a man named Tony Young, who also had kids from a previous marriage. Kyron would spend ample time with his mother. She would often visit him in Portland, and Kyron would also go to Medford to see her on weekends and special holidays. In other words, Kyron had a close relationship with both of his parents. Terry's older son had some issues with Kane and eventually moved out of the house. He himself claimed that he was kicked out. It is speculated that Terry harbored some ill feelings regarding that, but this could never be confirmed. In 2008, Terry and Kane had a daughter of their own named Kiara. According to some, Terry was a caring and attentive mother, while according to others, she could also be demanding and controlling. The family dynamic was complex due to the divorce and the subsequent remarriage of Kane to Terry. Despite the challenges, both Kane and Desiree were committed to ensuring that Kyron had a stable and loving relationship with both parents. Kyron's daily life looked like any other kid's. He would spend time with his baby sister Kiara and loved getting dirty while playing. Kyron's parents encouraged his interests and supported him in various activities, including school and extracurricular events. They were actively involved in his education, attending parent-teacher conferences, and supporting his academic interests. Day of the incident. June 4, 2010. The day began like any other for Kyron. His stepmother, Terry, took him to school early that morning. Kyron was just 7 years old and was a second grader at Skyline Elementary. He was excited about an upcoming science fair, which was scheduled for that day. Kyron did a project on the red-eyed tree frog. Kyron Horman later told NBC that, "I just told him I was really proud of all the effort he put in on his project. He did a really great job," and gave him a big hug. Terry took Kyron to the school around 8:15 a.m. She walked him to his classroom and helped him set up his science fair project. Kyron was proud of his project, and Terry took a few photos of him standing next to his display. This was the last time anyone saw Kyron before his disappearance. Because of the science fair, many parents were coming and going to help their kids with their projects, so security at the school was fairly limited that day. That day, the classes were supposed to start at 10 a.m. after students finished up their projects. Terry states that she left the school at around 8:45 a.m. She said she last saw Kyron walking up to his first class as she was walking out of the hallway. However, when the teacher took attendance later that day, Kyron had been marked absent. The teachers thought that Kyron had gone to a doctor's appointment. Terry had scheduled an appointment for a week later, but due to some miscommunication, the teachers assumed that the appointment was on June 4th and didn't think much of it when Kyron didn't show up in class. Kyron would usually get off the bus at around 3:30. Kane or Terry would usually go to pick him up. So as per routine, Kane and baby sister Kiara went to the bus stop to meet him. However, they were told by the bus driver that Kyron never got on the bus to begin with. Hearing this, his parents began to worry. They called the school immediately, only to find out that he'd been marked absent. They checked many other places Kyron might have gone, but there was no sign of him. As the evening of June 4th, 2010 unfolded, Kyron's parents realized that he was truly missing. They contacted the police, and a report was filed. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office launched an investigation, and a search for Kyron began. The search involved local law enforcement, the FBI, and volunteers from the community. The area around Skyline Elementary School was thoroughly searched, including parks and residential areas. Despite extensive efforts, no signs of Kyron were found that day. Some people speculate that maybe he left school on his own. However, everyone who knew Kyron personally would disagree. Kyron was a shy and timid child, not the type to leave school on his own. As a result, this theory was quickly ruled out. When Kyron's mom Desiree was informed of her son's status, she immediately decided to drive all the way to Portland, determined to be there as soon as possible. Both sets of parents combined their efforts in pursuit of Kyron. They held their first press conference just a few days after Kyron's disappearance. During this conference, Kane and Desiree appealed to the public for help in finding their son. They provided details about Kyron's last known whereabouts and described his appearance, hoping that someone might have seen him. The parents also appeared on various local and national media outlets, including TV shows and news programs, to plead for Kyron's safe return and to provide updates on the investigation. The evil stepmother, Terry Moulton, under police suspicion. The investigation into Kyron's disappearance was complex and explored various theories. Police interviewed all the parents that were at the school that day, but it soon became obvious that there was no evidence supporting any involvement from the outside. Terry soon became the focus of the investigation since she was the last person to see him. Police asked her to give a whole account of all the places she visited on June 4th. She narrated the details of her day, starting with running some grocery errands. For this, she went to 2 separate Fred Meyer stores. She completed these tasks around 10:10 a.m., then she drove around for a while in an attempt to distract her baby daughter Kiara and soothe her earache. She was busy doing this until 11:40 a.m., after which she went to a local gym to work out. Her daughter was at the gym's daycare, while Terry worked out till 12:40 p.m. She reached home at roughly 1:20 p.m. and posted the images of Kyron's science fair on Facebook. Soon after, Kane returned home to continue working remotely. It was when he went to pick Kyron up from the bus stop that the harsh reality set in. According to many witnesses who were present at the school that day, Terry might not be telling the complete truth about where she was that day. Many people say that they saw Terry leaving the school premises through the side entrance with Kyron in tow. Desiree says that Kyron was also seen by one of his friends leaving the school with his stepmother. Desiree's husband, who was an ex-police detective, guided everyone through the trials families experience after their child goes missing. Tony told them that their lives would now be under complete scrutiny by the police and the general public. He mentioned that the authorities would want to know every detail about the day of Kyron's disappearance. That's when Desiree, Kane, and Tony noticed that Terry expressed some hesitance and displeasure. Normally, a parent would want to share as much information as possible in order to bring their child home. This reaction of Terry further planted seeds of suspicion in the eyes of everyone. But this wasn't the last time Terry exhibited suspicious behavior. She refused to take a polygraph test as requested by the police. When she finally offered to take the test, she failed 2 of them. She walked out in frustration while taking the 3rd one. Terry's behavior continued to raise red flags, so the police dug deeper. They found out that in 2009, about a year before Kyron went missing, Terry Moulton Horman was reportedly unhappy in her marriage to Kyron Horman. According to the investigation, Terry approached a landscaper who worked for the family and asked him to kill Kyron. However, the landscaper, instead of getting involved, went to the police and reported the incident. It was also discovered that she started sexting a man named Michael Cook, who was a high school friend of Kyron. And get this happened just 3 weeks after Kyron's disappearance. This behavior was very concerning, given the emotional turmoil the family was going through. After finding out these details, Kyron immediately moved out with his daughter. He was eventually awarded full custody of his daughter after they divorced. A few years later, in a 2016 interview with Dr. Phil, Terry attempts to defend her actions. When asked about the sexting, she explained that she only took part in it to get back at Kyron, as he had also been sexting with someone else. She also said that it was a setup by her husband, which contradicts her earlier statement. Dr. Phil questioned her about the fact that she made a Facebook post about going to the gym just 4 days after Kyron's disappearance. Again, Terry defended her choices, stating that she did what the authorities had guided her to do, to go about her life as she normally would. But of course, these statements fail to preserve her image of being a concerned mother who just lost her child. While it is important to analyze all aspects of the story, it is also important to note that no one should be victim blamed in such a situation. Perhaps her actions were a strange reaction to the emotional upheaval she was experiencing at the time. Number 1. Abduction by an unknown individual. One of the most common theories is that Kyron was abducted by a stranger. This theory is based on the fact that Kyron was last seen at school, and there were no signs of him leaving the school grounds voluntarily. Moreover, this theory could be possible because lots of people were going in and out of the school that day. The investigation initially focused on this possibility with extensive searches of the school and surrounding areas. However, no conclusive evidence of an unknown abductor has been found. Number 2. Involvement of Terry Moulton Horman. Terry Moulton Horman, Kyron's stepmother, has been a focus of the investigation due to inconsistencies in her alibi and her actions following the disappearance. While she has not been charged in connection with Kyron's disappearance, her involvement has been scrutinized. Theories suggest that Terry might have had a role in Kyron's disappearance, but there is no concrete physical evidence to support this theory. Number 3. Accidental or intentional harm by a stranger. Some theories propose that Kyron might have been the victim of accidental or intentional harm, either within the school or after leaving it. This means that something would have happened on school grounds which was perhaps covered up. However, no conclusive evidence supports this theory. The investigation has explored various scenarios, but none have led to a definitive answer. Number 4. Epilepsy or mini seizures. According to a review of Terry's emails, she expressed concern about what she called strange behavior from Kyron. She writes that the doctor thinks it might be small seizures. Based on this, some have raised the question of whether Kyron may have experienced a small epileptic seizure. Although many associate this with something dramatic and very noticeable to those around, it's not uncommon for the patient to simply zone out and then wake up somewhere else seconds or minutes later without those around them noticing much. Some have therefore questioned whether he could have unintentionally wandered into the woods and succumbed to the elements. However, this is little more than a hypothesis. In this case, the big question is, was Terry guilty or not? This may be surprising, but we think not. She certainly hasn't acted flawlessly, either as a mother or a partner, but that doesn't make her a murderer. The lack of physical evidence and a timeline that doesn't align with the crime makes it difficult to see how she could have done it. It's clear that she had some other skeletons in her closet that she didn't want to come out, which might explain much of her behavior. Just because the investigation exposed the troubled marriage of Kane and Terry doesn't mean that she had the criminal intelligence to stage a disappearance, murder, or hide a body. And she would have to do so without leaving behind any evidence while she was also taking care of her 2-year-old daughter. It has been speculated whether she received help from a friend, but this friend has also been ruled out of the case long ago. The time window she cannot fully account for, with receipts or eyewitnesses, is about half an hour when she was driving around with little Kiara to get her to sleep before heading to the gym. We can't see how she could have killed Kyron and disposed of his body during this time, only to then go straight to the gym without leaving any trace. Admittedly, her explanations were a bit inconsistent at first, but as far as we can tell, her alibi is quite solid, something the police seem to agree with. Plus, why would she take him to a public place like school and then do something sinister if she had been a criminal mastermind? This might have been a way to orchestrate the perfect crime, but we believe something quite different happened. Several classmates reportedly saw Kyron after Terry left, the last time being in room 109. The school was open, and people could come and go as they pleased. After his disappearance, students discussed having seen a creepy man walking alone around the school. Whether it was this man or someone else, it's possible that the person asked Kyron for help with something in his car and then used the opportunity to drive away with him. This theory was first published in 2013 by a blogger named Blink on Crime, who claimed to have close connections with law enforcement. It was a synthesis of what they said were several witness testimonies indicating that Kyron was seen in classroom 109 with a man who asked that classroom's teacher, we won't mention their name here, if Kyron could help him get something from his car, to which the teacher allegedly nodded approval. If this is true, it certainly doesn't put the teacher in a good light, but the man had likely already gained Kyron's trust by that point. The layout of the school would have made it easy to drive away quickly and get a head start, even if the disappearance had been discovered right away. So even if Terry is not very likable, we don't believe she killed Kyron based on what we know. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with our analysis? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section.